Good day to you. This is Dr. Wendy Rowley, and this is Heartfield Evolution Episode 10. And behind me is an amaryllis. I just want to say very quickly before we start with what we're going to say that life is very interesting. I like to garden and I like bulbs in the winter to liven up the house. And you take the tulips and the bulbs and you take them out of the dirt and you let them dry out to replant in the fall. But the last couple of years, there's been an amaryllis in the pots of dried bulbs all by itself that starts to grow with no water, no soil. And this year I decided to bring it up and see what happened. And it's bloomed. And it's an amazing thing. So even when we're not in our most perfect environment, when things around us are bumpy and going not really so well, we can still choose to attune inwardly to that source and find that peace and that succor and bloom in place no matter what's going on around us. And that's what that reminded me of. So I just wanted to share that. Okay, let's see what Eliane has to say. Oh, good day to you, dear springs of light. It is Eliane of Cosmic Service, Pleiadian Mother of Sound. Peace be with you, peace be with you, and peace be with you. That was a beautiful analogy because indeed there is truth in that, that no matter what is going on around you, created in your central column, in your heart field, is a place for connection to something greater than yourself that can uplift you. And it's when people are at their worst, as this one always says, as a healer and a naturopathic doctor, that they are most unlikely to go get help or to turn to the creative source. They are just mostly going through it. And sometimes it's hard to uplift yourself to get to that place. So some of the things we're going to bring forward are indeed about how to stay uplifted. So let's call this episode How to Stay Uplifted. In the last one, we started to speak of what this one has been pulling out of the Akashic records and looking at and learning to attune to, because she's worked hard for a long time through her own clearing to get to this place where she can feel that beauty of the solstice. And if you get out in nature and walk and attune to the divine, it's very easy to do that. And she's flashing back to having memories of doing that. Anyway, so we started to tell you that in August, you all used as a planetary engine to bring in cosmic and solar forces. And you can think of those as having codes of creation and directives. And directives are like what people call the divine blueprint. It's that there is maybe an overarching plan for a system that wants to become enlightened on a planet. And so things will percolate through. And humans pick that up on some level. And then everyone gets a consciousness idea. Like right now, everyone has a consciousness idea to come together and do benevolent things and wish the earth peace and love and harmony and get in groups and do that. And there's instruments like we've spoken about. And she had in her great global healing party, January inaugural event, people from Heart Math Institute who do that. They do research and they show what happens when people come together in benevolence with good intention. And their work is very focused on that. Now they're looking at the interconnectedness between trees, which is a fascinating thing. And eventually they'll even get to interconnectedness between the mineral kingdom and interconnectedness between the plant kingdom as they get a little bit more sensitivity in their devices. And as they get a device that connects the Global Coherence Project to the Heart Math projects, if we have said that right, there's two different projects that they have going on. One used to be done at Princeton University, and now it's with them. And they're going to get a device that will connect those two different sets of information, bring it all together. And that's going to be really exciting. And from there, they can go to plants and minerals. And then they will really start to see a pattern. Fascinating. Okay, so in this cycle, then you have an equinox, and the fall equinox is about clearing ancestral energy. And then in February, about mid-February, beginning of February, you go through another interim energy, and that one is about kind of bringing into the earth the directives into a deeper level. And you're not used as planetary engines like you were out at the greater field in August, but there is an internal system in the earth that moves things through the various kingdoms of information. Believe it or not, the mineral, the plant, the animal, and the human, and the higher creational beings of light, and all of the interdimensional beings that work in all of these various kingdoms, if we could think of it that way, like a little story in a magical fairy book, a fairy tale book, because it's rather charming and unbelievable. But they all get information. And that happens in the fall. There's an engine within the earth that percolates that through. And that's what happens then. And then you have the December solstice, which is like kind of like the Christ influence into the earth time. So the June is like the creator, the soul, the supreme being, the God coming in from the galactic into the earth. And this is known in Hindu and Buddhist and other religions that are very old. And in India too, where they have ancient cycles that have been recorded for a long time. And then in December, it is the Christ time of the influence of that energy. So we have described the Christ as an overarching energy of a planetary system that's evolutionary, that brings in new pathways, new energies, but always is like a flavor of going home, like a beacon of light where you always know how to find your way home through attunement with your spiritual nature, which is natural. Once you are free from your physical body, it's what you do. You just naturally do that. Even you may be an atheist when you pass, but once you're out of the body and you're connected to soul, you're automatically doing that. We don't mean to preach or teach. We're just letting you know the way it is, at least from our perspective. And so that's the December solstice and the February. Oh, nope, sorry, we're skipping around. This one starts to think a little bit. Let's give her a moment. Okay, so we did the spring, we did the summer solstice. We did and you might have to write these down as notes to clarify. The summer solstice, the August interim energy, the fall equinox. And now between the fall equinox and the December solstice is another time in October. And this one always felt it like it was a shift of the change of the energy of fall to winter, but it's not. It was actually feeling the shift of the creational energy taking in those codes and those new pieces of information that were being percolated up in the time frame between the equinox of fall, where you as humans can clear ancestors, that energy is percolating in on other levels. And then you have in the interim of October, that energy being received and being brought into a type of conscious awareness in the various kingdoms of nature, including the human kingdom. And then you have the December solstice, which is the Christ infusion that we started to speak about. And then you have in February a time frame where the energies are coming in and being actively engaged for change. So it's almost like it comes in, it comes up to all the kingdoms, then it starts becoming engaged in February. And people think, oh, spring is coming. I feel a stirring. You're feeling the stirring because within you, you have minerals, you have animal aspects, and there are people who can communicate with animals through their spiritual nature. You have communication pathways up to the animal kingdom. You have the love of animals within your kingdom, within your being, and you have, for many people, pets, and you have ancient connections to the animal kingdom through your evolution. We'll just leave it at that. And so that's a time of the energy coming up and rising and becoming active in various kingdoms. And so then you come to the spring equinox, which is a time of clearing the heart field of the ancestral energy. So you're going to see this in the Great Global Healing Party, should you partake in those things, which is another way of saying groups coming together with benevolent intentions. But this one is a particular intention of healing and clearing things out of the group spirit body as well as your own spirit body at the higher self level. So that's a different kind of a party. It's a healing party. So in the uh, spring equinox, you clear the heart field of ancestral energy. And then in between the spring equinox and the summer solstice, you have another time frame of energy at some point in April, Aprilish time frame, whatever the midpoint is, between March and June. March, April, May, June. So somewhere in between April and April. And so in that time frame, you have a not a percolating up and going into action, but you almost have like a still point of a bridge of creation. It's like a bridge between that which has now come into the action phase of creation, that were directives of the creative source and codes of creation that actually engage change. They might bring in new species. They might be bringing in new plants. They might be bringing in changes in the human spiritual group bodies that we've mentioned in Heartfield. The Heartfield series on YouTube, there's a lot of esoteric information in there about some of that. We're touching on it in Heartfield evolution a little bit. And so there's a kind of like a still point between the change happening and the engagement into that actual kingdom. So for you, it's almost like a receiving of those codes and a conscious awareness change, or an awareness change that something new is coming into the spiritual anatomy. And that's when you will see those things, should you be a healer, clairvoyant, or someone who works at those levels. Or if you're just a sensor, you might be sensing changes going on the planet and in humanity. And that's when that's happening. And then you arrive back at the June solstice, which is a galactic portal of the new codes coming in through all the enlightened planets. And one of the new things that's coming into that gateway that is being activated this year and brought online to become more active in a few years is there is an upgrade in that galactic portal to divine intelligence of the creative source through all the enlightened planets. And that's a very far out concept. That's a very, very kind of sci-fi far out concept, but it's true and it's happening. And so there's people on the earth who are bringing in those setups. One of them is something this one does called the Pineal Tone Choirs with Dr. Todd Overkides. And they're bringing in some of that work in the December choir. And it's something new that they did not know would happen, but it's percolating out to them now that that will happen. That will take place in Hawaii. And she loves those. They're very juicy. They're very odd, but they're very juicy. And she knows she has grown tremendously by partaking in them. So that's another form of a group of people coming together to do juicy work. And then there's the Great Global Healing Party that she's bringing forward, as well as in the future, there'll be another type of global blend that this one will bring forward. Because there's people that do that. So whether it's pure intention or whether it's healing or pure intention with juicy energy work, the group events are where you will start to feel more of your spiritual nature, because that is opening up through the soul level out in the greater field, that you are getting more of a group consciousness. That's timely and purposeful for where you are now in your evolution. And these are the things we thought we'd share with you today, even though we started out a little bumpy and jumped ahead in that beginning. Take a few notes and you can put that annual cycle in order. And that is called the Galactic Annual Cycle. Isn't that interesting? Peace be with you. You are dearly loved. Expect benevolence in all you do, and we bid you adieu.